Freedom is one of the basic human needs. Tony Robbins tells us that we want to have freedom. If you were to increase transactions in your business and you were to still desire freedom, how could that be possible?
That is the question. My body is not currently equipped for a daily hard workout.
Okay, I think that's important for you to
Yeah.
be. If we're creating habits,
Part of it is going to be fear. Another part, I've been working on that fear, and honestly, it doesn't seem that terrifying anymore. But I still haven't picked up the phone. I'm getting very confused on why that's not happening. And I think my biggest problem at this specific moment is figuring out why am I doing this and why am I not doing this like at the scale where I want to do it.
hey, that's an important question. My thought is I really wanted to spend this time pouring into you today, and then towards the end of the call, let's talk about then you can kind of get a feel for our time together,
Hmm.
okay? And then we'll talk about what the relationship could look like and if you want to continue going forward. Is that fair?
Yes,
All right, cool. So I think what you just said is an important question. One of the biggest things in my experience that took me a long time to figure out was just the value of a why. The time that I've gotten to know you, what I do know is your trip that you took to go meet with your sister. That's a why, right? And you were kind enough to share with me the relationship that you had with your family and how meaningful that was, that you got to go and spend that time together. That was like an emotional investment. You guys really got a lot from spending that time together, right?
yes.
Okay. So when we're thinking about things that would fall into our why category, I'm imagining that those types of things would be at the top of the list. Does that help you?
It does. And as I was making this list by myself after Carla's call last week, I did put travel, the ability to travel like as much as I want,
Mhm.
as one of the first like things I actually wrote down because number one, it gets me to see my family as
Right?
much as I want. And number two, it gives me a specific kind of freedom, you know,
Yes.
a
Freedom.
very different feeling.
Freedom is one of the basic human needs. Tony Robbins tells us that we want to have freedom. And so I guess if you were to increase transactions in your business and you were to still desire freedom, how could that be possible?
That is the question. So, as I'm producing more, where am I getting the time to actually do what I want?
Mhm.
I think that's it might be one of the things that's holding me back. You know, like at the point where at this level, I still can be free whenever I want, but on the next level, I can get better and I can do more, but I feel like I'm kind of losing the freedom.
So I think you've struck on something important right there. Do you think that it's possible that when you are, the freedom is what you're doing this for, and when you're missing it, why would I do more? Is that something that possibly could be coming up for you?
It
Okay.
honestly does. Is there a way to produce more at a higher level and still stay free?
Let's talk about that. Let's break down a day in the life of Elizveta.
On a business day, I get up at 6:37. I usually take my time to, get out of bed and stuff like that. I used to role play at 7:30 every morning. I haven't role played for the last couple of months. I will get back to it next week. I'm not consistently prospecting, which I want to start doing, like actually
Okay.
getting on the calls. But I'll be honest with you, I'm not doing it
Thank you.
consistently. So I would usually follow up with my clients, check my email, see what's happening, go out to some showings because I still work with a lot of. I I can't say I close a lot of buyers and rentals, but I do show a lot of properties.
What, and so then if you're gonna go out, so you're gonna wake up between 6:30 and 7. You used to role play at 7:30. You're not consistently prospecting. How many times a week would you say that you are prospecting?
None.
That's very
Like
honest because and you want to change that, right?
definitely.
Okay. You're checking with clients. and you're showing a lot of property. Who are you
Yes.
showing property? I'm just curious. Who are you showing property to?
There was also one of the things that was kind of a part of my business. I had a Russian client who used to buy and rent a lot of properties for me. By a lot, I mean they would rent about 30 properties per year and they would buy about 10. They were doing it for Airbnbs, but our relationship got to the point where I was not willing to work with them anymore,
Okay.
and I kind of fired them. But they
Okay.
were the main source of my business. So for the last, like, let's say half a year, I have not been working with them, and that's where the business significantly went down.
So yeah, you lost a major source, a lead source. So what I'm seeing is because that was significant. If they were, buying 10 a year and rentals are a part of your business there, correct?
Yes, it
Okay.
used to be, yes.
All right. And
It
I'm
still
under
is. I still do rentals.
okay. I've never done a rental, so I realize that that is valid because rentals also bring buyer business.
Yes.
Yeah, that's important. In this case, we want to replace leg of your business, a lead leg of your business, right? And I say leg because we want to think of our business as a stool. In order for it to stand, it has to have at least three legs. Tell me about the legs that you have in your business.
I do get rental leads off Facebook. I do advertise other people's properties on Facebook. I do work with a sphere of influence where I would go to buyers consultations or rentals, and I think that's pretty much it. I do network. It hasn't given me too much of an outcome yet.
Okay. So I apologize. I was trying to keep up. You said rental leads are off Facebook, and then the other source was your
Sphere,
sphere of influence.
yeah,
Okay. All right. And how many people are in your sphere of influence?
I have never counted them.
Okay. Do you think you could count if we should decide to continue with this? Would you count them and let me know how many people are there?
Sure,
I think that
sure.
would be important. Okay, that's super important. And then the other thing that I want you to take a look at between now and when we meet again is, do you have an iPhone?
Yes,
Go in there and I'd like you to just see how many contacts you have.
it's 656.
All right, so you have 656 people in your phone.
At least 30 Russian phone numbers, so it's not going to be helpful.
All right, so 30% because that means so you got about 450 that are opportunities, right?
Yes.
Or people that know you.
Mm-hmm.
What percentage of those 450 would you say that if you were to contact them and say, "Hey, do you want to go to lunch?" They would say, "Yeah, let's go to lunch."
Maybe about, I do want to say around like 10%.
Because, I mean, I put agents that I'm working a deal with in my phone.
Yeah,
They're not going to go
yeah.
to with me. So that's normal. And what you described is that means you might have about 45 people that are really in your center sphere of influence. Would that make
Sh
sense to you?
should be around that number, yes.
Okay. So and
Here, local in South Florida, it should be around that number.
all right. So this could be a really good leg of business because here's what we know that for every 12 people in your database, and we're going to say right now it's 450. Let me get my calculator up. Calculator. You should be able to get either a piece of business or a referral from them if you communicate with them 36 times a year.
Okay.
And the reason that I'm taking you through this is because if we're going to say, "Oh yeah, they're a leg of my business," yeah, great. But if we're not doing anything with them, and so you mentioned in your intake form, you said that you're aware that you have access to a CRM through EXP. However, you're not using a CRM. That what the CRM is like a bank. Instead of calling it a database, it's a data bank because
Mm-hmm.
we want to be able to make some withdrawals from that bank. And I think the highest value that I can reflect on for you right now is let's talk about what you do have so that you can make the most of it. And then, of the four ways that we can increase our business, the first two are more leads and conversion. If we want more leads from what you currently have, right now you're getting rental leads off of Facebook. We don't want that to go away because it's like that's your bread and butter right now, correct?
Yes.
All right, and that's okay. I mean, what
Mhm.
we want to be really careful about is we don't want to throw the baby out with bathwater. right? We want stability as you grow. And then the other thing that I can remember that made a huge difference for me when I went from like 50 to 30 15 to 30 transactions. And what took me there was getting someone, hiring an assistant. And I'm not saying that's immediately, but you want to have your radar on even if it's just a TC that's going to handle transactions when you get them under contract so that you can be focused on your morning ritual. We're unpacking a lot right now, and I don't want it to be too much. I guess if we were to focus on one thing right now, which is we're talking about new lead sources, conversion, and then your schedule,
Yes.
what would be the most important thing that we could talk about right now that would bring you the greatest value?
I think the schedule would be a foundation for it. Because I do get an idea from a lot of the people I'm learning from, I do get an idea of how it's supposed to look like. I
Yep.
don't have a set schedule that I'm following to the T.
Okay. And you know, you remember, I don't know if you remember Do More Deal Summit, there was a gentleman named Jeff Quinton. I idolized him because of his ability to stay not distracted. And if you remember, Aaron even said when he went up to look at his operation, Jeff's operation was set up so that like the prospectors and the people that were hunting were in one location, and he put all of his administrative staff in a completely separate location like a block away. So what I did, the best thing that I could do for myself was when I worked in an office, which we don't anymore. You work from home, right?
Yes.
Okay. The best thing that I did is OP of my office or the team leader, they said, well, which office do you want? And I said, is that closet available? Literally, my office was a broom closet. And it was because I could close the door and I could be like with my blinders on
Yeah.
and not be distracted at all. If you're able to create an environment like that, and it could be right where you're sitting right now, you don't have to go find a closet in your house. My point is you want to identify the biggest distractors, and for at least the 3 hours, you want to eliminate them. And then pledge time. So between now, I guess if you were to do the ideal schedule based on what you've seen others do, what would that look like?
I would wake up earlier,
Okay.
probably around
What time and why?
probably around 5 to 5:30 because I do want to exercise early in the morning. And
Can I offer a suggestion?
yes.
I'm hearing a range for time.
Okay.
Alarms don't go off between 5 and 5:30.
Yes.
Okay. All right. You go where you understand where I'm going with that. Okay. My suggestion would be just pick a time.
Okay.
Now, is there going to be mornings when you're going to get up at 5:30? It happens. What we want to be careful about is we want to give the brain like as little leeway as it can have. Because what we're doing is we're forming habits.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So do you want to wake up at 5 or 5:30?
5.
Okay. And then what are you doing at that time?
I will take 20 minutes to brush my teeth, do my hair, get a coffee in, and go do a workout. And the workout should take 40 minutes. Maybe we can start with that.
Okay, so that's an hour. So then from 5:20 to 5 to 6 o'clock, you're working out. Now, is this going to be every single day you're going to work out?
Probably not. No.
Okay.
I have to come up with an idea of what exact workout am I doing because my body is not currently equipped for a daily hard workout.
Okay. I think that's important for you to
Yeah.
thank you for being conscious of that. Because if we're creating habits, it would be kind of like, a runner going from running, not at all to running 26 miles, and that's not going to happen. That's not real. Perhaps some of that time should be devoted to our meds, meditation, exercise, diet, and because if we're conscious of that, and that's the whole perspective. If you could go from even just doing physically something, nothing to something, that's an improvement, right? And I also believe that this being in the right frame of mind as well is huge. So maybe, because I know myself, when I work out one day, the next day I'm feeling it the next day.
Hmm.
And yes, I do want to keep moving. However, I'm not going to do the same workout that I did the day before.
Yes.
Okay. We're working on the schedule and I don't mean to chase rabbits here. So let's just stick on this. All right. So from 5:40 to 6 right now, you're going to be doing something that's going to get you physically, mentally, and emotionally okay. You're going to identify that. That's not for me to identify. Okay. If there's something specific that you want to role play, I'll put you into my schedule. I'm happy to do that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, yeah. And then if we do that, like, why don't we pick a day? All right, so you're
Okay.
going to role play from 7:30 to 8. I remember, then what's going to happen after that?
Hopefully prospecting.
Tell me more about
Uh,
that. Because there's
I've been
something
telling,
behind that. I mean,
yeah,
I'm not just going to roll over what you just said. All right. I think it's important that we visit that for a moment.
sure.
Hopefully prospecting. So, there's pieces of that because when there was friction for me to get on the phones, there was something getting in my way. Usually the things that would get in my way were I didn't know who I was going to call. I didn't have the numbers prepared. I didn't know what to say. I didn't have it in my schedule.
Hmm.
So of those four things, tell me what's causing the friction for you. Let's identify that. Or also, you shared with me, I didn't mean to cut you off. I was afraid to get on the phones.
Yeah, so part of it is going to be fear. Another part, I've been working on that fear, and honestly, it doesn't seem that terrifying anymore. But I still haven't picked up the phone,
Okay.
and I'm I'm getting very confused on why that's not happening. I'm
Okay.
getting confused with myself because I've been trying to push myself there for at least a year, and it's just not
Uh,
happening.
okay. I want to go over what it would look like for us to work together. Is that
Yes,
okay?
please. Yes,
And then
please.
I'm going to give you an assignment.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to identify tomorrow morning at 7:30 in the morning. I want you to wake up and I want you to think about getting on the phones. Ideally, it'd be great if you did. Call someone, call one of the 45 people. Before you do that, I want you to spend just 1 minute, set a timer on your phone, and I want you to breathe and I want you to ask yourself this question. What is keeping me from doing this? What am I missing? I would like an answer. And then I want you to write down what comes to you and then text it to me. When it wasn't in 2024, for a long time, I had measured my level of success. It was always how many deals was I doing and what does the profit look like? We are emotional beings.
Yes.
Can't just say that we're robots. We can't just shut it off. We always want to talk about how great things are going, how wonderful things are going, and nobody really wants to show where the pain is.
Yeah.
And quite frankly, and my first reaction was, oh, that's painful. I don't want to deal with this. I don't want to process this. Why is he doing this to me? That's just hocus pocus. Revenue share is not real.